Hey, what's up guys, it's Eduardo Visuals here, back at it again with a new video. This time I'm bringing you a lens review on the Canon 20-35mm wide angle 4 full frame. Hey, roll that intro, let's get started. So let's talk about this Canon 20-35mm 3.5-4.5 variable aperture USM lens. And first off, the first thing I want to say is the price is ridiculously cheap in my opinion. For a Canon full frame lens at 20mm, I think it's very cheap in my opinion. The next cheapest lens that comes to this is the 20mm 2.8, and right now I'm gonna share my details why I didn't go with that one and I ended up with this one. But first off, the price. I paid $150 off MPB. If you haven't bought from them, they're amazing in my opinion. The only thing is they lag a little bit to send your receipt and to send the confirmation, but other than that, it was a great experience. The lens came in a big box, like overly big, and it was just filled with newspaper and bubble wrap, and it was like carefully put inside. So right off the bat, for $150, you're getting a lens that weighs 350 ounces, which is one of the most lightweight lenses I have. So I think that's cool, and that's the biggest reason why I switched. But before I get to that part, $150 again, very cheap. I think that's close to the 50mm 1.8 STM lens. But this is a USM lens, so you can expect that ultrasonic motor to kick in and work excellently with the EOS R. So that was the price I paid for this. So the next thing you're probably asking about is the variable aperture. Does it affect me? I don't think it should affect you or me in my opinion, because 3.5 lets in a lot of light. It's not the best in low light, but I have other lenses to compensate for that. So at 3.5 during the day, I think that's perfect, that's ideal. Mainly f4 is mainly where I use my lens. At night, I did want a lens to drop lower than a f4. And for that I have either my 24-70 2.8 or I have the 50mm 1.8 to use as well for nighttime shots. So the next thing I want to talk about is sizing between this 20mm to 35 and the 24-70, which was my biggest selling point honestly. This lens is super tiny when compared to the 24-70, and it's it's less than half of its weight. And to me, that's a big difference, because when you go hiking, when you go traveling and you're carrying around a bunch of gear, and especially vlogging, when you're holding it out with your arm eventually does get tired and you're like you're switching in between the shot. This is way lighter than the 24-70 that is currently shooting me right now. In my opinion, it's massive. And so that was one of the biggest selling points for me, is look how tiny this is compared to the 24-70mm. Now one thing I did go ahead and try out is the difference between both of these lenses, between 24mm and between 20mm with digital IS and without digital IS. The last time I used the 24-70 to vlog the photo shoot in LA, I was using it at 24mm with the digital IS enabled, not enhanced, enabled, which crops in a tiny bit. And apart from that, in post, I go ahead and do the ratio 2:1, so I do end up cropping even more from the top and from the bottom, and I noticed that it was fairly tight and I needed something wider. So that was a big reason again that I switched to 20mm. Now 4mm, is that a big difference? Yes, out of the testing I did, which I'll show you right now. So this is the 24-70mm 2.8 Mark II lens. I'm currently using the digital IS turned on and it's in enabled. Okay, so this is the Canon 24-70 Mark II 2.8 with the IS turned off. So from now on, everything you see is going to be on the 20mm to 35mm lens. So one thing right off the bat you can notice with the 20-35mm 3.5-4.5 IS is the darkness. This is at 3.5, this is no longer at 2.8. I'm at ISO 640. I'm gonna dial it up to see where my exposure would be similar. I think that's good. So now I went from 640 to 1250, Pretty sure I could go back down to 1000. I think 1000 is fine. So again, this is at 3.5 at 20mm. This is exactly where I find myself that I'd be using this lens. You can also hear the noise that the motor makes. I have the Rode Video Micro on top, so hopefully you can hear it as I get closer. Pay attention to this and pay attention to that. Alright, so this is with the IS off. So this is how it would look. I think the lens is pretty quiet. I mean, from my perspective, I can't even hear it, and this room's silent. So I mean, if the mic's picking it up, well then maybe it is loud. But again, I'm using the Video Micro. This is with IS off. This is at 20mm, as you can see. The sun's all the way out. I have an ND filter on. I'm shooting at f4.5 on it. The ND's at all the way at N32. I have the 2 to 5 stop moment filter, but this is how it looks with the IS off. This is my hand all the way extended. It's actually a very light setup. I like it a lot. Let's see how it looks with the IS on. Hold on. So this is again my hand extended all the way out with the IS on. I have it extended out again, very light setup, as you can see. Maybe it cut off a bit. I don't know if it's even that noticeable, but this is 20mm out. I thought it was a big difference. Now a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, myself, I tend to vlog while inside cars. I noticed that I vlogged in Europe inside a taxi, and at 24mm, I thought it was too tight. You'd crop in essentially on my face. So I learned to do the vlogging test inside a car. You don't know when you'll ever be in a tight enough space, like inside a bus ride, and you're gonna hold out your camera like this. You wanna make sure it grabs a lot of the framing. So that's one of the tests I did, so I'll roll that footage now so you guys can see exactly what I'm talking about. This is at 20mm with the IS turned off digitally, so I don't have it on enabled. My arm is extended out all the way. Alright, this is with IS on. I don't know if you can even tell the difference. I can't even tell the difference, but I mean, this is how it's looking. And that is my inside the car vlogging test. So for noisy autofocus, I honestly don't know how well it did. I'll notice that right now when I edit this footage, but from my ear, I couldn't hear much of it. Maybe like slightest of movements, you can hear it. But I do have that same issue with my 24-70. It is not loud like a Sigma lens, but there is some play. You do hear it. I do use the Video Micro on my camera as an on-camera shotgun mic. I do know if you use the longer shotguns, like for example the new Video Mic NTG by Rode, I know through those it lessens it because the mic is more ahead of the motor on the camera itself. So it might be different. Again, this is gonna be my first time hearing it. I don't think it was that noticeable, especially for vlogging. I think it's fine. So the performance and the autofocus testing I did, I thought it was superb. I think there was nothing wrong with it. The focus maybe to me was almost on par with my 24-70. I mean, it is a USM lens, and this Canon EOS R has phenomenal autofocus, so I think it nailed that. It did have the eye box on my eye at all times while at 20mm, so that's pretty sick how the technology from 2004 or even older still works in conjunction perfectly with this EOS R. So the image quality for this lens, first off, I read in all the reviews that it wasn't the sharpest lens, but again, like I said, I'm not looking for the sharpest lens. I was looking for the most affordable wide angle lens for vlogging, mainly for video work, and I think the image quality is gonna be great. Again, I haven't seen the footage. I'll be editing this and then I'll be the judge of it after. This isn't a review as of now. This is just the first look on this lens. So the build quality, in my opinion, it's pretty strong. It's like a USM lens. If you have the 85mm or the 50mm 1.4, it's the same quality. It is pretty sturdy. This USM line doesn't have the weather sealing, which I would want it to. The internal zoom is a big plus. I just think in the build quality it's great. I mean, 77mm filter thread is great. I have step-up rings, so there's not that much issue with that. The lens, I don't know, I mean, if it falls, I think it'll break. It is strong plastic, just like the 85 1.8, but again, yeah, I think it's solidly built. Even the back has a metal mount to it, so I think the build quality is solid. So how do I see myself using this lens? Well, the main reason, again, like I said, why I bought it is because it's half the size, half the weight of the 24-70, and I honestly think the 24-70, I mean, it's not the heaviest lens, but it just makes the whole rig look huge. And for paid work, I will be taking that because, I mean, I paid a pretty penny for that lens, and I think that lens has insane image quality and micro contrast. But I did want something lighter that will make me want to pick up the camera and like be less suspicious of like, oh, this guy's vlogging, or damn, this guy's like a hot shot or something like that. And with this lens, I feel that way. I feel it's tiny. It's a nice tiny compact setup. I think it's probably one of the tiniest wide angle setups you'll ever have. And I think I'd prefer this over the 10-18 because you'd be having the 10-18 and APS-C mode, and you don't get the 1080 60p, I believe. So this definitely kicks its butt in it. So I mean, that's my daily use that I'll be using this lens for, mainly for video, maybe video work that's paid, but specifically for vlogging, for just having fun, I think it's gonna be my go-to lens. And between this one and the 24-70, I think I'm taken care of. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much why I bought it. I will be reviewing this after a couple months use. Yes, this is the lens J.R. Ali used, I believe like 4 years ago or 3 years ago. He had it in his camera bag review, and that's where I sort of saw it for the first time, but I paid no attention to it because back then I had the Sony. But yeah, this has been the first look or semi-review of the 20-35mm. I hope it answers all the questions you guys had, because I had a million questions about this lens, and I wish someone would have made a review about this before I bought it, because then I would have just bought it when I saw it for $100. But hey, $150 for a sucker like this, I think that's pretty cheap. I'd definitely recommend it if you're on a budget. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more videos. I might be reviewing a special lens that might be coming. But as for now, like, comment, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this one. This is Eduardo Visuals, signing off.